Welcome, Thrivers, to this week's episode of Women Thriving in Business podcast. I'm so excited to have with me Dr. Dee Bowden, who is the creator of Collect the Cash. So welcome, Dee.
Hey, Nikki. What's up, y'all? I have been like a little kid excited like all day for this conversation. I couldn't wait to get here, talk to y'all about thriving in business. Let's go.
Great. So start us off with, tell us about your business and what actually got you started on your entrepreneurial journey.
She's like, what's got you into your business? I'm like, I like this. Can I tell a story?
Yes.
So here's how I like to start the conversation. First of all, thank you so much for having me as a guest on your podcast. Let me start with some good home training. Let me start there. How I got here was this. Let me give you the fun facts first. I'm originally from Boston. I now live in the great state of Maryland. My fun facts are I love Ferris wheels, smooth jazz, and great wines, both red and white. So if y'all like wine, oh, listen, y'all, we're going to get along real good. If you like Ferris wheels, I know that's like a unicorn thing, but it's really my thing. And if you love smooth jazz, even better. It's even better. So how did I get here? How did I become the creator of Collect the Cash and launch my business, BCS Solutions? Well, it goes like this. Once upon a time in a place far, far away called Boston, where I'm from, I was hired about 15 years ago, I used to work for a small IT company outside of Boston, where I'm from. You know how it is if you've been hired to work for corporate, government agencies, nonprofit, it doesn't matter. They usually you welcome aboard, here's your cubicle or your office, here's your box, and here's that I call it a special plan. They said, hey, we have a problem. I was like, well, what kind of problem? They said, we got $8 million in outstanding receivables. I was like, y'all got what? Really? No, listen. Now, this is a small company. We're talking less than 100 people. They have a collections team, accounts receivable, which is what I do. They got $8 million. And they said, we haven't been able to collect it. And I was like, really? They're like, really? I said, okay. So I'm a believer. So I took my list and me and God had a conversation. Kind of went like this. Hey, God. Yes, D. How are you? You know what, God? Overall, I am fantastic. But I have an $8 million problem that I have to solve for this company. And your word says, if you lack wisdom, come ask me for it and I'll give it to you. And I was like, cool, because I don't know what I'm supposed to do to collect $8 million. So I got quiet. And the lessons that came up were this. Business to business collections, whether you are a solopreneur, a full-time person, or anything in business, is problem solving. It's answering the question of what had happened was. Number two, it's customer relations, customer service. You got to figure out what went wrong in the transaction. Why didn't you get paid? It's relationships building. That's the third thing. And my secret sauce is gratitude. So when I took my keys and went back to my cubicle, I said, okay, problem solving. I got to figure out how y'all get in an $8 million mess. And I got to figure out what had happened was and get this solved. So I get on the phone. Hi, I'm Dee from such and such company. Can I speak with the person accounts payable, please? Sure. One phone call, Nikki, the person said, well, the reason we haven't paid y'all is that we changed our billing system. It'd be like going from like using Microsoft Excel to say QuickBooks or Wave or whatever. They said, we changed our billing system. Y'all did? Yes. We notified all the clients. Really? When did you send the email? Oh, we sent it on such a date. Well, evidently it went to spam. One phone call, problem solving, $2 million collected. Just like that. Yeah, that part. It's a true story. So then I go back.
You're a miracle worker.
Well, listen, me and God, we partnership. This is a partnership thing. So listen, get back to the story. So I ended up collecting $6 million in 60 days. Now get this, y'all. I'm a part-time collecting person. I work Monday through Friday, 4 to 8. Now, after I collect $6 million, the CEO of the company says, listen, we need to have a chat. We come downstairs and I'm thinking we all about to get bonuses because, we didn't collect all this money. No, he says, we've made an executive decision. We're closing the company today. All y'all got to go get that same box and pack up and get out of here 2 months before Christmas. I'm telling you this story because this is how Collect the Cash got birthed. Now, I don't want anybody to listen to the story and go, oh my gosh, that sounds bad. And you sound like you just handled it so perfectly. I did not. I had a whole bunch of feelings. I was like, what? I went to God, got my clues, got $6 million back, was a part of my team. And then the whole company is shut down 2 months before Christmas. Are you serious? They're like, yeah, we're closing the company. Get your box. May the Lord bless you. And the rest of the verse and we out. So I'm like, seriously? So after I recovered from that, this is years ago, but what really got it started all over again was watching the small business owners during COVID. And I'm looking at them going, y'all are scrambling to get loans and all the things. The question that kept coming up for me was, I wonder how many of them had sales they made and they fulfilled everything or did not, but more importantly, they didn't collect their cash. And so I was like, okay, how do I take what happened to me and create a business that I can teach business owners how to track their payments, how to collect their payments, and how to not end up like what happened to me personally. And that's how Collect the Cash got birthed.
I love it. Can you talk a little bit about how companies get into these situations? So you mentioned with one of the clients that they had changed billing process. How do companies get into these situations? How do people let that much cash be floating out
It's
there?
it's easy. It goes like this. You have a sales team, you've got sales, you have contracts, you have order entry, order fulfillment, billing, and mile lane receivables. The sales team gets celebrated because they done closed $10,000 or millions of dollars in sales, and their company is thinking, okay, we have this money, but technically you don't. You have the sale, the contract of the sale, but the money is not in the bank because number one, you haven't fulfilled all the things in the contract. Number one, you haven't invoiced them, and then you haven't gotten paid. How this happened is that if you don't have a tracking system to track how many sales do you have, how many customers do you have, and then when are you supposed to bill them, and when are you supposed to get paid, you can do what this company did. They had all this sales on the books, but they were not following up with it because they kept looking at, oh gosh, we just landed this company, this corporation, this company. So the hype is on the front end, but they neglected the back end. And that's how this happens. It happens more often than you realize because think about it. Nobody really wants to go ask somebody, excuse me, hey, Nikki, can you pay me for what I owe? You're like, oh, nobody want to have that conversation. And they're like, I make it funny, but it's true because you think about it. You do this great presentation for your product or your service. You have this PowerPoint, you got all the slides, all the things, you make it elegant, et cetera, et cetera. And they're impressed and they finally say, you know what? Yes, we want to work with you. And what gets celebrated is you get that sale, you close that sale. You close the sale, then you got to do all the work. And then you're like, oh, I got to bill you. Oh, okay, we're good with that. But when I got to go ask you for the money, yeah, no. Because why this gets like this is because I said I have 4 keys: problem solving, customer service, relationship building. Nobody wants to potentially mess up the relationship with the customer asking for the payments, because the thought is if I ask you for my money, even though I'm entitled to it, if I don't ask it the right way or something goes left, you might not pay me, and number 2, you might not give me any more repeat business. I'm not willing to take that risk. And that's how we end up in these situations like this.
And so what I take away from that is cash is king. Sales are
most
great,
definitely,
but
always.
cash is king.
Yeah, listen, don't be playing. Your mother will tell you, it's like this. Your mother gave you $10. You went to the store. She's like, where's my change? I know it didn't cost you $10. Where's my change? I'm looking for the money. Right, because I'm accounting for them coins. Where's my money? Stop playing. I make it fun, but I make it fun because it's a very serious topic, and it's also one of those that a lot of people in business shy away from because it's the one thing people are like. You got people afraid of 2 things. There are a lot of people that don't like to sell. They don't like selling, so they don't want to have to ask for the business. They don't want to have to deal with all that, and they really don't want to have to ask for the money. And the thing is, I say it this way: it's collect the cash. The sale is not complete until the money's in the bank, but you must collect it first. And I believe this: if you were confident to ask for the business in terms of asking for the sale, you have to be just as confident in asking for your payments. And if you can't get all your money up front, old school, a deposit, and then 3 payments of this date and this date. And if something goes left, at least you have it documented and you can come back to the person and say, okay, how can we fix this? Because relationships are everything in business, and especially around money, a lot of people don't like having that conversation. But if you set it up front correctly in the beginning, it doesn't have to go left. That's the takeaway for that part.
Right. I'm going to come back to that in a moment because I definitely want to hear some advice on how to make that easy. Because I will say that I hate doing invoicing. It is, it is absolutely the worst task ever. So
let's talk. Okay, let's talk about that right now. Why are you doing invoicing?
I feel like I don't have a system set up to make it easy. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on how do you start off from the sales process on down? How do you set up the sales process in a way that makes invoicing easy? Because I think it's the piece that keeps people from collecting their money. Like every entrepreneur I know, it's like grading for teachers. Like you don't want to do it. And so it's like, yes, I want my money to magically appear in my bank account, but I got to do this thing beforehand. And it is like that eating the frog, really. So I'd love to hear your thoughts around how entrepreneurs can actually set the process up so it starts off in the way you want it to end, which is with that cash in the bank.
Great question, and I appreciate it. And thank you for answering the question, because here's the thing. I love it. You're like, it's like grading papers. They're like, yep. For all my teachers out there, I'm like, listen, I feel you. But here's the thing. If you don't grade them papers, the students have no idea how they're doing in their class and what do they need to improve on. So on all the entrepreneurs out there, I have a tracking system. It's like this. What's the name of your customer? Column number 1. Column number 2. If you have a contract number or a PO number or whatever, however you document them. That's the second column. Column number 3, how much is your contract for? If it's $10,000, $50,000, whatever. Column number 4, what did they buy from you? Did they buy coaching services from you, consulting services from you, sneakers? Identify that. Column number 5, when are you supposed to invoice them? When you bill them, and you have to track what date do you set a date on the calendar you're going to bill them. Column number 6, when are you supposed to collect the payments? Whether you process it through Square, Stripe, QuickBooks, Wave, you have to pick a system to do that with. And then the last column is notes, which is column number 7, which is notes. And that is for, if, for example, you build, you did all those things I just said, and then you billed them, and the payment was scheduled to come in. Today's May 3rd. The payment didn't come in. In your notes column, you have a thing. Okay, payment was missed. That's an automatic tickler for you or somebody to get on the phone and call them. Because I say it this way: as much as we like to solve everything with 144 characters, you cannot. You cannot solve everything with 144 characters. I know y'all want to sit here and just text and like, boom. Nah, sometimes you got to actually get on the phone. Hi, this is Dee. Nikki, can we talk for a minute? Sure, girl, what's up? And have a conversation. We may have to pull up the invoice. And it might be that when you prepare the invoice and send it to me, you made a data entry error. You put the wrong contract number or the wrong dollar amount or the wrong billing address or whatever. And it could be the reason I'm not paying you is because it's a small issue that if we spend 5 minutes, let me see what you submitted to me and let me review it with you and we fix it, then you can basically make that your template and you do the same thing over and over and over again. And if you use an automated system like QuickBooks or like Wave, you can set it once and forget it and say, bill this every 30 days. But that's a system. But the thing is, if you won't address the elephant in the room, which is the system, then you're not going to get your money. And then you can't be mad if people aren't paying you because you didn't set up a system to bill them. So that part.
I love that. I mean, you just made it seem super easy. Like, I think we try to make things complicated. And really, you just like, at least track, like, who are you supposed to be billing? When did you bill them? And when are they supposed to run you your money, right? So like, just tracking that, I think it's take the angst out of it too.
It's true. And here's the thing. To me, it's no different than if you run your home. When you go to the grocery store, don't you make a list? You need whatever items in, Costco or Sam Club or Walmart or Target or whoever you go to, you got your list and you're checking it off because when you replenish everything that's in the house, I have everything I need for the month. Well, the same thing in your business. How many customers do you have? If you even if you have one customer, if you just learn this process with your first client and you do this all the time, as you get more clients, it gets easier and easier and easier. I tell people this, they're like, well, Dee, I don't want to track it. Well, if you set it up once and you set it up correctly, then you'll know this is an automatic thing. I need this is the name of my customer, my contract number, the dollar amount of the contract. Let's say you have a contract that's worth $10,000 or $20,000 and you have to do the work over 3 months or 6 months. If there's a deposit that's paid, then okay, so it's 10,000 minus 5, so that's $9,500. How are you going to bill them? You're just taking the 9,500, dividing it by 3. Okay, the first invoice, which outlines all the things you're going to do, is due on this first one. Same thing for the second, same thing for this third. And obviously in the contract, you're saying if the work is done and we agree to these terms, I bill you, you pay me. And if something goes left, you can refer back to the contract, number 1, and say, we had an agreement. Number 2, if they come up and they say, I'm short, when I talked about relationship building, if they can't pay you everything in full, you can do what's called a partial payment and agree to that and document that, meaning in the email, you say, okay, my invoice was worth, this, I accept this partial payment, but I'm still expecting you to catch up here, here, and here. Because there are times that yes, the business comes first, of course, but the business is relationships and the money can mess up your relationship. But if you're able to accept a partial payment, and you'll know from your customer whether they're a person that's above board and they're going to pay you, or if you get that funny feeling in the beginning, you're like, yeah, no. So this and you're like, okay, I know I need to make sure I get my coins up front. You can do that as well. You can say, no, I prefer payment in full. I'm not even dealing with these partial payments. I'm not doing none of that. I want all my money up front. That's fine. You have to make that decision, but you have to do what's best for you in terms of your business, number 1, and the relationships, number 2, and then your cash flow, number 3.
Right. I love that about relationships because I think a lot of times we don't even know, we as entrepreneurs don't know we can ask for our money sooner, right? So if you are working on a contract and say the terms are net 30 or net whatever, net 45.
Yep.
If you have a relationship, you can say, hey, I'd actually like to get paid net 10 or net 20. And depending on your relationship with that client or customer, then they might be able to accommodate that. So that helps your cash flow. And I think you're just bringing up the point of like relationships allow you to ask for or negotiate terms.
And also here's the thing. Now, when you start to have this conversation, and if they say, thank you, Nikki, for asking me for this, our payments are set up that we pay everybody on this date. Well, that's part of getting that information up front. So you know, okay, they pay net 30. That means they're gonna pay you in 30 days from whenever you submit the invoice. Then you need to know that in your business that, okay, on this client, part of the tracking of when your payments come in, this client pays every 30 days. So that one you already know. Lesson learned. If you're a person that needs money sooner, then you maybe net 30 doesn't work for you. Net 30 means that you're paid 30 days from after the work is done. If that doesn't work for you, then you might say, I need net 10, which means we sign the contract, I bill you 10 days after the services are provided, I'm expecting my payment then. You have to ask these questions so you know what's going to work for you, because if you don't have a lot of extra cash flow and you're strapped all the time, but if you don't ask these questions, you don't know that there's options. You can say, I need this. And that's why another thing, you can ask for deposit, you can ask for 50% front, and you can set it up that you get billed here, here, and here. But all of this is all part of the tracking system, which is what I described earlier.
I love it. She just set me free right there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I do what I can for the cause.
This is definitely better for tracking. I don't know that I'm ever going to love actually doing the invoicing, but this does help with tracking and making sure that as invoices go out, I'm not losing the bubble on when that funding is supposed to come in. So I think that's very helpful in a way to like simplify this. It doesn't have to be, I think a lot of entrepreneurs think of their finances as like this black box of calculus, and really it's not.
Yeah,
it's not.
It doesn't have to be.
Math.
It doesn't have to be. And the thing is, I think the reason people feel like that a lot of times it's fear. And so we gotta address the fear. Here's the thing: if you're not really good at this, then you gotta find somebody who is. Because sometimes I know, especially we're entrepreneurs and we're solopreneurs, we're brilliant at whatever our lane of genius is. And then you start looking at, oh my gosh, I gotta sell, I gotta market, I gotta do social media, I gotta invoice, gosh, I gotta do track stuff. This is way too much. Well, sometimes you have to, old school, you might have to take a whiteboard and just write out all the things that you have to do and figure out, okay, what can I do? And then who do I know in my network that can provide, who do I know as a bookkeeper?
Right.
Maybe I can get a bookkeeper on a part-time basis to get started. And he or she can help you to get your systems in place. So at least you know how many customers you have, the invoicing, the payments, etc. Because some of this experience of being an entrepreneur, you get overwhelmed because you feel like you have to do everything. You don't, but you won't know what you can do and what you can't do unless you lay it out in front of you. That's where the tracking system came from, because that's how I learned, okay, this is my lane of genius. I know how to track things, and I know how things come in, and I know what to do if the payment hasn't hit. I'm on the phone the next day. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? How's the dog, the cat, the squirrel, all the things. We're going to talk about this cash flow after that part.
So Dee, as you work with clients, small business owners, solopreneurs, how much of their financial situation is actually related to mindset?
It's so funny that you said that, because actually I'm going to go ahead and put a plug in for the book, because in my book, Uncollected, my first chapter is called Mindset Over Money. Because if you come into entrepreneurship or any other ship with a bad thought about money, it just shows up, because you will ignore it. You won't address it. You won't take the time to read a book. You won't listen to a podcast. You won't even go take a class. Like the Small Business Administration has free classes for entrepreneurs on how to invoice and bill and manage their cash flow. Because of how you feel about money, you will stay stuck in that arena versus saying, you know what, I don't know how to do this. I don't like doing this, but I know that if I'm going to get better at this, I need to go invest in myself. You can start free with the Small Business Administration and SCORE. They have free webinars, totally free. You can Google score.org, Small Business Administration, and look up cash flow, invoicing, finances, etc. Take a free class, go get a book. And here's the thing, you are not going to get past how you think until you get some new information, number one. And number two, so you make a decision that I don't want to remain here. I don't want this fear of money or this fear of losing or whatever it is to hold me hostage. And you won't change that until you go, you know what? I got to look myself in the mirror and go, you know what? We've been here long enough. We've changed this. And because here's the thing, if you don't change it, today is May 3rd, 2022. You're going to look up a year from now and you're like, I'm in the same spot as I was last year. And then you're like, man, and listen, I don't know about you, but for me, I don't have the kind of time to waste. I just don't. So if it's a mindset issue, one, you have to acknowledge it. Number two, you need some new information. Number three, I recommend you take a class. You're new in business, there's SCORE, there's a Small Business Administration. I'm sure in your city or town, there's probably a small business development center that has free trainings. You have to get the information to learn how to get better at whatever it is that's got you stuck.
I love that. I think those are great words of wisdom. Since you started your business, what have been some of your biggest challenges that you faced?
Biggest challenges starting the business. Number one, to be truthful, collecting money, especially because I do business to business and business to government, was starting this business thinking, okay, who's gonna want to learn from me about something I've been doing for many, many years. I've done it, for like I said, government agencies, corporations, IT companies, telecom companies, etc. So I've been doing this for a long time. And I mean, it's been my career, and now I'm building this business. And I first thought was, who's gonna want to learn from me about doing this? And I had to decide that I have a valuable skill that will make a difference in the marketplace. And then I had to go to school, just like I'm telling y'all to go take classes. I went back to school and I went and did a business acceleration program for a year. Learn again, because here's the thing: you can be great as an employee. This is perfect. You can show up to the job, you do your job, this and the third, and great. And then you're like, oh, you want to run a business? It's not as simple as it looks, because of course you go get your articles or organization, you get the LLC, and then you get the website, you get the fancy logo and all the things. And you're like, oh, I'm in business. No, you just established the fact that you're in business, but you haven't talked to anybody. Don't nobody know what you do. How do you serve them? How do you solve their problem? All those things. And so, like I'm telling y'all, I mean, everything I've told y'all, I have done it and I still do it. I still take classes. I still read books. I still make sure that I am learning how to do this better. Because when I first started, I was really clunky at describing how I serve and who do I help and why do I do this. And because my first, Nikki, you'll love this. My first topic was, how secure is your cash flow? Don't nobody know what that means. They were like, what? What is that? Like, I promise you, I had this whole big fancy long sheet with all this corporate speak and government speak, and everybody's like, Dee, what is that? And I had to learn. They're like, we don't know what that means. So I had to learn how to take my corporate speak and government speak and break it down to 3 words: collect the cash. And then the blessing that I got was this story, which everybody will probably appreciate. Whether you're team iPhone or team Android, you'll appreciate how I grew in my business. So for example, I'm team Android. Are you Android or iPhone?
Android.
All right, perfect. So you know how it is when you go into the phone store. They're like, hey, Nikki, or welcome, welcome in. Hey, how are you? What brings you into the store today? And you're like, oh, my phone was having such and such an issue. Before they even get started with you, can I have your driver's license, please? They confirm who you are. That's step 1. Then they look up on your account and it's like, you know what, Nikki, did you know you were eligible for an upgrade? You're like, I wasn't thinking about upgrading my phone. My phone was just fine. I just had one question about this one thing on the app that wasn't working. Well, the salesperson starts selling you, well, you could upgrade right now. It's a great time. We got a special, blah, blah, blah. So they're already starting the sales process, and they'll tell you, Nikki, why don't you walk around the store and see what new phone you'd like? And you're like, ooh, well, I'm Samsung 12 or whatever number we at now. And next thing you know, you're like, upgrade to the new phone. They're taking the balance of the old phone, putting the credit to the new phone. They done started you with a new sale. You in a new contract. You're like, I did not plan on doing all this, but they made it sound so great. So they got you a new sale. They got you into a new contract, and then they're like, well, give me your phone. So they scan all the information. They set you up to transfer your data from your old phone to your new phone. Next thing you know, order fulfillment. Back of the box, they got the new barcode. They scan it. All the information goes into the phone, into the system. So they've done a new sale, a new contract, order fulfillment, order entry. All the information is there. This is your new phone, new information. Nikki, when would you like your bill, which is accounts payable? Please listen to the story. This is what your business does. You do a sale, you get a contract, you do order fulfillment. Nikki, when do you want your bill? I get paid on whatever date. So you pick the date. Oh, I want my bills due on the 25th of the month. Perfect. The person, while they're sitting in the store, they set up your accounts payable for the company to bill you, which is accounts payable, they bill you. Accounts receivable is you pay them on whatever you agreed. And then you don't get to leave the store until you swipe a credit card or pay a credit card or debit card or cash, and it says these 2 magical words: transaction approved, then you walk out the store with your new phone. What I just, that's what happens in business. There's a sale, there's a contract, there's order fulfillment, there's order entry, there's accounts payable. They set up the day when they're going to bill you. You say when you're going to pay them, you swipe your debit or credit card, transaction approved, and then you leave. And I jokingly say, if you do all that and you keep using their phone, you don't pay them, they got this magic button that will disconnect your services. The reason I exist in business is to teach business owners to not have their businesses go out of business by learning to track what they have and pay attention to the sale, pay attention to the invoicing, and pay attention to the payments. That's why Collect the Cash was created. So that story, when you asked me about, how did I, growing in business, was learning to tell that story so that business owners are like, oh my gosh, well, if I have a product, yeah, I do a sale, I do this, and they can plug in their pieces right in the story. Whether it's a phone, it could be tchotchkes. I don't care what you sell. You got a sale, you have a contract, you have order fulfillment, you have order entry, you bill somebody, and you expect to get paid, and you have notes. That's the process. That's what I teach.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
So with that, and kind of having really leaned into this during the pandemic, what would you say are some of your greatest accomplishments in your business?
Well, how about being featured in Forbes magazine?
Nice.
That's a big one. How about being featured in Forbes magazine? If you type in Dee Bowden space Forbes, you'll see that there's a story that was done in December 2020. It says, how does cash collector teaches business owners how to collect the cash? That's one. Number two, being in Yahoo Finance. Number three, writing a book. Because get this, Nikki, I have a vision board. There was no book on my vision board. I promise you. I got two of them. It was not a near book, nothing. But, I was looking at the pandemic and the business owners, and then I had, the reflection of what happened to me. And I was like, my book coach said, what do you do? So I told the story how much money I collected. She says, Dee, we need what you do. Can you teach us how to win? And she just kept saying it. She's like, Dee, we are your why. Teach us how to win, how to not make a fool of ourselves, how to handle these difficult conversations about our money, and teach us what you do. And, I said yes. And so we worked together, and she got me to help me. She actually was part of how Collect the Cash, the book actually came to fruition. I actually wrote the book during the pandemic, and it actually just celebrated a year's anniversary last month. So I launched it in Times Square, New York City on April 20th, 2021. So it's already been out for a year.
Nice. Well, congratulations on one
Thank
year
you.
with the book. And can you talk to us a bit about, I think the book came out of the urging of your book coach, and also you had this message that you wanted to get out. Can you talk a bit about how the book has helped you in business? So a lot of people write books, and a lot of people say, you don't get rich off a book, right?
Sure.
But the book provides almost a proof of expertise. So can you talk to us a bit about how the book has helped you in business, and what advice you would give to entrepreneurs who maybe are thinking about writing a book?
Great question, Nikki. So how has the book helped me in business? Number one, what the book did for me is it established me as a subject matter expert. There aren't many people that are having this conversation about accounts receivable and collecting the cash in business. If you think about it, if you Google sales, marketing, social media, you'll have lists and lists and lists of books about that. Or you'll have people that will have books about personal finance, like, Get Good with Money, or The Money Makeover, or The Automatic Millionaire. And that's David Bach, Dave Ramsey, and Tiffany Alicia. They all great authors, and they all talk about personal finance, but I haven't seen many people that are talking about the business side of finance other than your taxes and things like that. I talk to you about making sure you have your sales and your AR together. So that's one. Another way it's helped me in terms of business is that it's given me the opportunity to speak for 3 small business development centers in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Then I plan to pitch myself to more of them, because I want to partner with more small business development centers and educate their business owners, just like we're talking about tonight. Because you learn all these things when you go through the program, but I have, in doing this now for the past couple of years, I've not seen anybody have this conversation. They'll tell you, you have to learn how to sell, you have to do marketing, social media, this, something, and I'm okay. But what do you do after you do the sale? And what skill do you have to collect the cash? We don't talk about that. Well, and that's. So this has created a new niche for me, because it's not the sexiest part of your business, but it's an important part of business. Sales, in my world, sales and AR, they go together. You can't have a sale or AR. They go hand in hand.
Love that. And what advice would you give to folks who are thinking about writing a book? What were some of the What was the process like? And at the end of the day, would you recommend it?
First of all, yes, yes. And you're like, are you serious? Yes, absolutely. I'd say recommend it. Number one, the process is this. Here's how it started for me. I saw my book coach on Facebook Live. She was talking and I kept hearing her talk. And then I literally went to one of her webinars and I sat and listened to her speak. And then, like good researcher, I Googled her. And I was like, oh, she got Simon & Schuster, one of the top 5 publishing companies in the world. Like she's got those kind of credentials. And plus she's been an editor for many, many years. But I sat with her and I liked her style. So I tell you to take a class, find out about whether it's with her or somebody, but I would say definitely take a book writing class, because here's the thing. There are people that will tell you, oh, you can write a book in 30 days or less. Well, you can, but are you going to have a book that's of quality, that's going to stand the test of time? Probably not. Number two, what's the message? If you're thinking about writing a book as an entrepreneur, what's your area of expertise? How can you take what you know how to do? Can you teach somebody what you do? And do you have a way to teach it so they're like, oh, this was not as hard as I thought? And can you make it so that it's entertaining? Can you make it fun? But they also come away with practical steps. 3, do I recommend it? Yeah, I think everybody needs to have that experience. Now, like I said to you earlier in the conversation, I have a vision board. There was no book on my vision board, not one. But, after I told my story, and then my book coach kept hearing, she's like, hey, you have a message for small business owners. You can teach us how to win. Because she even said, I didn't have the tracking system that you described. And she's like, she now has that. The person that published my book, when we were going through the conversation, she said, well, I don't do it that way. I said, but everything I described, the sale, the contract, all the things with you publishing my book, that's a tracking system. You do the tracking system with every single client that you publish. And she was like, oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. So just being able to keep telling that story and showing people where it fits with their business, I was like, oh, okay. And that grew my confidence, because in the beginning, when you asked me, was I ready to do this? No, I was not. I mean, I'm just being honest. No, I was not. But by getting out here and getting on podcasts and telling my story and sharing my story, and then finding ways to make it fun and interesting, and then also learning to relax. I mean, real talk, learning. I come from corporate and government. It's really stiff and very formal and all the things. We sit here having a good time. I mean, it's taken me a minute to relax and flow with this and be confident in what I know and what I do. And I'm good with it. In the beginning, man, I was nervous as I don't know what. This is real talk. And then I'll say this. If you are an entrepreneur and you still have questions, let me tell you something. It is okay to have questions. What's not okay is to not go get the answers to the questions.
Say that again for the people in the back.
As an entrepreneur, it is totally okay to have questions. What's not okay is to not go seek out information, answers to those questions, whether the answers are a book, a class, a podcast, a mentor, a coach, all the above. I've done those. I have coaches. I do podcasts. I listen to podcasts. I take classes. You are on a journey of personal and business development in this process. And even though you might have been the best at whatever you did or still do in corporate or whatever lane or industry you're in, it's different when you're out here having to do this for yourself. Because if you think about it, for example, if you work for a company, they hired you. They hired you because you have knowledge, skills, and abilities. You did not have to go get the contract, go get the sale, go do all the things, get the benefits, all the things. You just had to show up, bring your resume, and have a conversation and tell them what you can do. And you requested your salary and this, that, and the third. And then the thing, and you fill out paperwork and they're telling you, here's your benefits, here's this, here's that. When you become an entrepreneur, all the things that are available to you as an employee, you now have to go get the sale and get the contract and get the benefits and all the things and get insurance and get an attorney and get an accountant, on and on and on and on and on. And if you don't know how to do all those things, it can be very overwhelming. So getting support, getting a coach, taking classes, and realizing the best thing you can do, personally, if you are still employed in your career, stay employed. Number one, I still have a career and I'm building this on a part-time basis. Number one, you got people that tell you, just go out here and jump. Child, no. Because you can get out here and you run through your savings, your 401k, and you are stuck. And you're like, well, I just thought it was going to be so easy, because in these social media streets, they make entrepreneurship look so super sexy and so fun. It's like, listen, stop it. It is a fun experience if your mindset is right, if you're prepared for it, if you've got the finances and the support and all the things in place. But if you are the entire business and you jump out here and you don't know how to do everything, it can be very stressful. And there are a lot of people that are flashing on social media like they've got it all together and they don't. My suggestion is that you, A, keep your day job, one. Number two, you can start your business part-time. Three, start if you don't have a lot of money saved up for the business, because you're going to need money to open up the articles organization, open a business banking account, to get your EIN, which is your employer identification number, to get a website, all the things. I would start saving some money. If you don't know, a great savings plan is called the 52-week savings challenge. I think if you do it, you save about almost $1,500. That's a good chunk of money to get started on a part-time basis. And then you can pay for things and you're not burning up, you're not blowing through all of your savings because, you're like just spending everything. And you're like, I spent all this money. I thought I was in business. You just got
Right. I call that looking like a business and not actually having a business. But you touched on a couple of things I think are important. I think as a lot of entrepreneurs come to the space because they're experts in some area. And yes, that expertise translates within the area of expertise. And I think what you said is so important about asking questions and not being afraid. I took it like, don't be fearful of asking the questions. Don't be fearful of not being the expert. No one knows how to do all these things. And even if you think about a large corporation, people have areas of specialty. There's no one person in the company who knows how to do all the things. And
no, because even if you think about it, companies have departments.
Exactly.
Companies have departments. Even if it's a department of one, you got one salesperson, one marketing person, one billing person, one AR person, one IT person. It's all that. But if in the beginning you are all, if you were doing a chart, a flow
chart, yes,
or chart, yeah, you all the circles, you all of them until you can figure out, okay, I can't and I'm not strong enough to do all these things. I need an accountant. I need an attorney. I need social media. I need marketing. I need sales. All of this will come over time. I think the misconception is that entrepreneurship is painted as this, it's almost like going to Disney. It's this magical experience. It's like, stop it. It's like, it's a lot of work. Now, there are huge benefits in terms of being able to be your own boss, being able to manage your own destiny, being able to, make a difference in the dollar. Like you asked me a question earlier about why did I do Collected Cash? I wrote Collected Cash. I created Collected Cash and wrote the book for my legacy. So long after I'm not here, if you discover me, have heard of me on some podcast, it's like you can go find my book and you can also hear my podcast interviews. And here I've told the same story with the same lessons over and over and over again, because I want to be able to leave a legacy so that my why is the small and medium-sized business owners that learn all the other things, but don't learn how to collect the cash, because everybody markets all the other things, but no one talks to you about this. So I decided that my legacy, my niche would be, I'm gonna talk to you about sales and AR, how they go together, why it's important to track your payments, get really good with collecting the cash. I understand, because of social media, everything looks, oh my gosh, it looks so glamorous. I mean, oh my gosh, I promise you, they don't have to airbrush nothing. They just put and make it look so spectacular. And I just want to say, please do not get caught up in the hype. If you're listening to us today, you're listening to two people who are seasoned in what they do, but they also care about your success. The real story. I'm not painting you any pictures. I told y'all, like, yeah, I went, so another part of this journey was, when I was writing the book, I told how I got fired. I got fired for the very thing that I know how to do and I've been doing for many, many years. I never worked for a company that was like, nah, you don't. I'm like, really? Oh, okay, got you. So now it's hilarious because they're like, oh my gosh, I took those things, those hard lessons, and was like, okay, I'm going to put that as fuel toward making a difference in a dollar and how I want to be in service. So my thing is teach small business owners why this matters so much. And then, also know that you will have some hard days. You will have some hard days. You're going to have some good crocodile tears. You're going to be like, man, nobody told me it was this hard. I didn't know this. Exactly. That's why the classes and the podcasts and the books and the coach and the mentor is super important, because if you just follow social media, they will have you thinking, yep, if you just, wiggle your nose and move your hair real quick, it's all that. Nah, it's not. It's a journey that will test your faith. It will definitely test what you have in terms of perseverance. You will wake up some days, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is a whole lot. It's as easy for me to go back and go clock in somebody else's job and let them figure out all the things, because I don't want to have to do all that. Or you decide that I'm struggling in this area and I'm going to put my pride aside and say, I don't know. And I'm going to Google, or I'm going to go to, oh my gosh, how about this as a concept? How about you go to the library, talk to the librarian? Hey, can y'all do this? Listen, my point is to get the information. I gave you the SCORE. I gave you Small Business Administration as resources, but there's also, seriously, I got a question about this. Can you recommend a book? There's classes, there's free classes, there's paid classes. If you've got a community college, they've got business acceleration classes that you can take. The point is that if you want to get better at this, you are going to have to invest time, energy, and money. And understand the success is not going to happen overnight. I've been at this for a while and I'm still working through things. I mean, I look at videos of when I first just started to talk. Oh my gosh, I was so stiff and nervous and tight. Now I'm relaxed and free. Why? Because I took classes to learn how to do this and get better.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's wonderful. I always say entrepreneurship is a journey of self-discovery. If you want to meet yourself, start a business, because all of your good traits and all of your not so great traits will show up. And I think acknowledging those is what helps you move forward in the business. Do the things that you're strong in. And as you say, find help to do those things that are not your strong suit. So that is a continual journey. That is a learning journey. Well, Dee, this has been delightful. Can you tell folks how they can find you if they want to learn more or buy a copy of the book?
Sure thing. Well, again, thank you for the opportunity. So listen, Collect the Cash is available at www.collectthecash.biz/book. That's www.collectthecash.biz/book. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'm at Dee Collects, but LinkedIn and Facebook, it's Dee Bowden. But again, the book, personal signed copy for me, www.collectthecash.biz/book.
Perfect. And we'll include all that information in the show notes. Before you leave, I have two questions I always ask my guests. So the first one is, what are one or two songs that are on your power playlist and why?
One is a song called Wake Up by Jonathan Butler. It's just one of those great jazz fusion funk songs that when I hear it, I don't care where I'm at, I'm gonna get up and I'm dancing because I just love it. It makes me feel good. It really makes me feel good.
And then the last question is, what is one book that you would recommend that has helped you thrive in business?
Well, one book I'm actually reading right now is called Get Good with Money. I'm Tiffany Alashay. And the second book I'm reading right now is actually called Speak Your Way to Cash. And that's Ashley Kirkwood. Those are two books.
Great. Yep. Thank you for sharing those. I'll add those to my list.
Yeah. And getting good with money is important, whether it's personal or business, because I believe that, they kind of go together. It's like, I think if you get good with your personal money first, because we talked earlier about if people have angst about it. I think if you get her book and you sit with it, because she's a great teacher and gives you practical steps of how you get good with money. And then I think once you overcome whatever your angst is or your fears are about money personally, when you get that piece dialed in, your mindset will shift. And I believe it'll be easier for you to move forward with money in your business. Secondly, right now, like I said, I'm reading Speak Your Way to Cash. And that's because as an entrepreneur, if you don't know this, you actually have to become a speaker. You got to be able to tell people what you do. So it was funny because one of the lessons, because when I started this thing, I was like, I'm not a speaker. They're like, oh, you most definitely are. I'm like, no, I'm not. They're like, yeah, listen, you listen. When somebody asks
you're going to be,
you will be like, what do you do? And they're like, you have to answer that question. You have your elevator pitch. I'm Dee Bowden. I'm the founder of and your thing. And you're like, yeah. And you have to be able to tell it in a way that piques their interest, on dissertation, but I'm this and this. This is what I do. This is what I serve and how I make a difference. And then you have to get good with being able to do that. And I was like, oh, and I promise you, because when you first start your business, you're looking at, I'm an expert in this lane. I didn't think about that I was going to have to talk and speak and share and do stories and do video and all the things that are a part of this now. I was like, I have to do what? I was like, I'm not doing any of that. And then it was like, no, if you want to get better at this and you want to be able to, make a difference and serve, these are the things you have to do. And so, as I've said, the classes, the books, the training. I'm not telling y'all to do anything that I haven't done and that I still do to this day. So, yep.
Great. Well, Dee, it has been a pleasure. This has been a long time coming. So I'm so excited that we have gotten the opportunity to talk today. I am definitely going to check out a copy of the book because one, your just tracker, just what I say, set me free. So I am sure that the rest of the book will be equally as enlightening.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care.